It's a kind of slang phrase that I don't really hear anymore. It beats me. Usually, it's a response to a question when you don't have the answer, like, how did that candy bar I was saving suddenly disappear? Beats me. For actors, this is not a great response when working on a script or an audition. There is an expectation that you have the answer and not a beats me statement. Truth is, I'm not sure what the literal translation really means, but for actors, there is another way to understand beats me. Rather than being a beat or feeling defeated, using a beat can be quite useful. You see what I did just there? Beats me on today's episode of Casting Actors Cast.
It's time for another episode of Casting Actors Cast, insights for actors from a casting director. Here he is, your host, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting partner Jeffrey Dreisbach with the McCorkle Group in New York, welcoming you to yet another podcast of Casting Actors Cast. It's really great that you are here. Hey, listen, if you haven't checked out the website yet, I invite you to do so, castingactorscast.com. You're going to find all of the previous podcasts cataloged there for you. Plus, there's a form right on the landing page that says dive into the talent pool. And if you do that, that's going to open up some freebies, a book on doing voiceover work, as well as a free 20-minute video on casting secrets, what they don't tell you. So checking that out, being part of the talent pool here at Casting Actors Cast, we continue to grow, and it's really been an exciting journey. And I hope that we can continue this for as long as we can. Also, I have my shout out to my good friends at Actors Connection. Hello to Colleen and Tony. Please do check out actorsconnection.com/New York for in-person and online classes with casting directors, agents, managers, all that good stuff. All right, let's get into the subject, shall we? Beats me. Now, I know in the very early days of the podcast, I had a subject about taking and doing beats, but this is, I think, a little bit different in that it is more specific with how to use those beats in moments that you're either working on in class, whether you're in a film or a television project or on stage, whatever the venue is. You can use beats in an effective way. But first, I think it's great that we can be on the same page. And that is, we need to define what a beat is. So let's just say that a beat, in my opinion, is a moment, a pause, a hold, a breath, or basically it's an emotional shift that the character you're playing experiences. Now, usually it is silent, and it often signifies an internal processing of any given situation. Here's an example. If someone were to say, your character says to another character, "Will you marry me?" the other character has an opportunity to let that sink in. That internal processing really does help for the other actor to give and provide a beat while they are thinking of the right answer. Like, for example, the processing is, gosh, if I say yes, then I'm going to have to be with this person for the rest of my life. If I say no, I might not be with this person the rest of my life. So that translates for an actor into a very clearly defined beat. Now, let's move on after we've defined it. Let's talk about how and why is a beat used? Well, this is kind of easy, right? In human interactions, it's an acknowledgement of the importance of a moment. In the "will you marry me" example, then to acknowledge something of great importance requires that you provide a beat. You give a moment to process. The other way I think of it is that it really is a psychological breath. The psychology of that means I need some time to sit with this information before I give you a response. And that's a psychological breath for processing the information. Now, moving on from there. Now, what constitutes the ways beats are used? Well, sometimes, and this is, I think, the least attractive, it is a mechanical decision made by the actor, director, or the teacher to emphasize a specific moment. In my acting days, I used to recall many directors saying, I need you to take a moment right there. I need you to give that response a beat before you say anything. So let's just hold for that moment to take place. It's very much used in comedy, of course. The correct timing of the delivery requires many times a healthy beat. Now, often it is also a way to experience the challenge of conflicting thoughts. You're equivocating about, good word. You're equivocating about whether you're going to say yes to a marriage proposal or no to a marriage proposal. So having the experience of that challenge can produce an effective beat. Other times, it is used to draw attention to a specific human dynamic. For example, the relationship. The relationship. It can be the relationship as it shows and demonstrates how you connect to another person. Or it can come out of anger. It can, like I said moments ago, it can be a humorous beat, a humorous moment, or other what I call emotional conjuring. You see what I did just there? I just gave you a beat. I said emotional conjuring, and you were wondering, does that really use correctly in the sentence? And I think it is. And the beat helped emphasize that moment. See what I did just there? Now let's move on. When should actors use beats? Well, let me just be frank. It is often not considered by actors because actors feel that produces some kind of disconnected, or it might make the actor feel that they're being presentational. And that is not the way to think of it. In fact, the use of the beat really does add to the character's internal dialogue. So best beat uses are when you need to experience the prior action of an emotion from another. And so out of nervousness, many, many times an actor feels that they can't afford that space of time when using a beat. There's this kind of weird pressure to not waste our time, when in fact it enhances the sense of control that an actor can feel, whether it's in an audition or in a class or on set. So please don't shy away from using the beat as part of that, what I call gear change, when you go from one thought to another. You see, a new thought might require a beat to separate the thoughts. Listen, it is also extremely helpful in TV and film moments in a very logistical way to help when the editor edits the scene. You see, in television, as an example, and in film, of course, but I'm thinking of television where once everything is shot, it goes to post-production. And there, the director and the editor work together to make a decision about where to cut a scene or where to shift the focus of the scene. You're going to go from camera A to camera B. When does that take place? But if you are comfortable in the use of beats, it can absolutely be a fantastic dynamic in the scene. But more importantly, to my point, the editor is going to fall in love with you because you have taken and given opportunities to make edits. Also, at the very end of a scene, hold that final moment. Decide that at the end of any scene you're going to be doing, you're going to hold that moment, that breath beat, that emotional moment, that pause. Make sure that it's not just stopping, that there's still something happening. But when you provide that beat at the end of a scene, chances are your reaction is going to be edited into the scene. So that's something to consider. it really does provide a way to assist the editor. And that's just strictly a, like I said, logistical example. All right. Consider the beat. Often misunderstood and underused. But when connected to the character, can empower any moment the actor chooses. And that, my friends, is the power of Beats Me. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach, and this is Casting Actors Cast.
Thank you for joining Casting Actors Cast. I'm Megan Grace Martinez.